Well, the learning continues, and I'm really excited about this next panel, which is called Steps for Success in Business and in Life. And I'm especially excited because the moderator of this panel this morning is Byrd Miller. Holly is the CEO. Yes, you may applaud her. She is the CEO of Makeup by Holly. And I'm just going to tell you something. I have had a personal experience. Now, don't judge her by today's work, because this was me. All right. But I have had experience of Holly in a makeup context. I never looked that good in my life. I can't afford to have her with me all the time. So that accounts for what's going on here today. But if you want a great makeup consultation, like if you're having some great branding shots done or something like that, man, nobody better. Would you join me in welcoming Byrd Miller? Almost took somebody's outfit.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everyone feeling? Perfect. Thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I would like to ask if anyone's in the far back of the room, if you're comfortable, if you could move up a little bit closer, because this is really going to be an interactive session and we want everyone to be able to participate. So only if you're comfortable, you can feel free to move up a little bit more, but we're really going to get into it. So, but before we do that, I would like to ask a question. How many super women do we have in the room? If you can please, yes, please do me a favor. Can you stand up if you're a super woman? Go ahead and stand up for me. Blair, stand up. I love it. I love it. Now, almost everyone is standing, but not everyone is. Now, if you're physically unable, it's okay. But if you are a mom, please stand. If you're an entrepreneur, please stand. If you are a student, please stand. If you are a wife, please stand. Yes, at this point, everyone should be standing. You guys are all super women. So everybody should please be standing. Give yourselves a huge round of applause. High five the women around you and say, you are a super woman.
Unfortunately, you're a superwoman.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for indulging me in that. Some of you fought really, really hard to be here. I can only imagine what you had to go through to be here. And you fought your way here, not for me, not for this amazing panel, but you came here for yourselves. And I hope if there's something that we'll share with you all today that will inspire you, will empower you, and help give you a little bit of extra confidence. So if you walk away in any way, or if you don't walk away with anything else, actually, we hope that you will feel confident enough to be your bold, your most authentic, beautiful self. So thank you guys for being here. As they mentioned, my name is Byrd Miller, and I am the CEO of Makeup by Holly Beauty Partners. I like to call myself the Chief Empowerment Officer because we don't just sell services, we promote and sell confidence. We have the pleasure of working with thousands of women around the nation with personal branding and image consulting. So when I talk about confidence, when I talk about, you'll hear things like imposter syndrome. I know you've heard that before today as well. Those are things that I know from my personal experiences, but I also see some of those things in the clients that we support around the nation. So you are not alone if you've ever felt any of those things, but I assure you before you leave today, we're going to promote the opposite of that. We're promoting confidence, and we're here to give you hopefully steps that you can utilize right away if you're not already utilizing to be able to live your most authentic and your best life. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go over here with this amazing panel because they are phenomenal, and I want to be able to have a conversation with these women. And this, again, is an interactive session. So we are going to have runners who are going to work the room. At any given point, we're going to ask questions, and we hope that you all will participate and join in on the conversation because I believe that we are stronger together, and I would love to hear the shared experiences from those of you who are in the room. All right? Perfect. All right, so I'm going to start by asking a question. How many of you have seen the movie Barbie by show of hands? Right. Not yet.
Right, same.
Now that movie, for for some of us, we may have felt a mix of emotions. I walked out feeling excited. I walked out feeling empowered, but also during parts of the movies, I felt frustrated. I felt like, who am I? Like, what in the world is the world trying to tell me to be? Who's the world trying to tell me to be? And it feels like at any given time, we're required to be all of those things. And that can be very, very frustrating. And it can also feel like sometimes we're alone, right? And so what I learned from the movie, the primary thing that I learned from the movie is nobody can define my success and nobody can tell me who I'm going to be. And so that is something that is very self-defined. And so for anyone who's ever felt imposter syndrome, anyone who's ever felt like if they're doing it, maybe I should be doing it too. I hope that you will start to kind of chip away at that before the end of the session, or maybe even before the end of this summit, because success is self-defined. Nobody else can tell you who to be or how to be that person. It's all in how you define it. Okay. And so we did kind of develop a framework that maybe will put some of that in context, but I hope you will walk away feeling like it is whatever it means to you. Okay. Define your own success. So I have this amazing panel and I would love to welcome Blair. We also
Some fans in the stands. Awesome. Thank you guys.
You all may know Blair from Black Brand. She has a presence here in the Tidewater in particular. So she is the voice of a lot of Black businesses and small businesses. So she has amazing stories to share and I can't wait for you to hear them. I'm also joined by Cain. Good morning. Chris is with one of the federal credit unions. So she has a lot of great stories to share from financial perspectives or just life in general. So look forward to hearing from Chris. And last but not least, we have Leah. Leah is the face of Bridging Virginia. She is a CEO and an all-around boss, and not to mention a pickleball champion. So please, don't mess with Leah on the pickleball court for sure. So I'm going to kick it off by just talking about the framework. So as you can see, it's STEP for success. And so with each, it's actually an acronym that I created that helps to kind of put a framework around how we've been successful in our lives. Not that we have all the answers. Trust me, we don't. That's why we want to hear from you all as well. But we want to share a little bit of insight. So we're going to start with the S, which the S stands for strategy. So I'm going to ask Blair, can you tell me what's the importance of creating a strategy and a time when you created an effective or ineffective strategy and what that looks like for your journey?
Love that question. Strategy is everything. And I live in the nonprofit world. So we don't do anything without a what? A strategic plan, right?
Right.
And I think about, so I've got to share this. I recently underwent a few different assessments. Anybody a fan of assessment tools? I like the DISC assessment. I recently took the Strengths Finder assessment. I found that my number one strength is arranger. I arrange things. That is what I do. I do it in my sleep. I do it day in and day out. So by default, I'm just a strategist.
Yeah.
And this is the way in which I enjoy getting things done. I like making a plan. I like making a list. In the morning, I make a list of lists. Does that make sense? So I have I either do it by people or I do it by projects. Yeah. But each list, it's a list of lists. So it's just the way I get things done. Does that answer?
It does. Okay. It really does. I mean, I live by lists and I have a to-do list that's probably as long as the stage every day. And I'm one of those people, I can't go to sleep until my to-do list is done.
It's gotta be done.
Because I know the next day there's going to be another 100 things that have been added to that list. So I feel really accomplished if I can check it off. And there's something about just marking it off and seeing it done and getting done to completion. So I think lists are very, very important and it can kind of keep you on track. So I agree with that. Do you have a question for the audience around?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is about business and about life. Yeah. And one thing that I'm trying to get better at is the whole meal prep, meal planning space. Because breakfast and lunch and dinner and all the things and Instacart and it's just a frenzy. around meals at my house. So I'm just curious to know from each of you or from one or two of you, how are you managing? Like if you feel like you've got it down to a science, maybe you're freezing like scoops of avocado, like, you know, share something cool that you're doing in the meal planning, meal prep space.
We should have a runner over here. I think we have a raised hand over there on the stage right or stage left. I always get it back.
Who else thought of the Pink Panther guy?
So between January and April, I do taxes and I'm also in the military. And so I probably have personal time about 4 hours. And that includes laundry and everything else. And so I use
Wait, you have what for 4 hours?
like personal time where I can like do errands and everything like that. And so I use like Walmart delivery, but I also use Factor. And you can do with Factor, you can do keto meals, you can do low calorie meals. And then I've also added in like I got peer pressure to buy a Peloton, so I add that into my 4 hours of time. And so with the meal prep and everything else, that's what I use.
Factor.
And then also the meal prep plans from Pinterest. I'm also very on Pinterest too, with soups and crock pot meals. And pressure cooking, because if you forget to set the crock pot, you can pressure cook in like 30-40 minutes.
Okay,
Holly, I have a
thank you.
question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
please.
my style is a little bit more emergent. You know, I like big goals and I kind of make things up as I go, like whether it's pickleball goals or things in Bridging, Virginia. And so from someone like with a more emergent style and kind of, I would say almost reactive. I mean, there's lots of business owners, boss women here. Like, what do you all do from how could I kind of rein in some of that in a strategic way? What are some tactics that you all have used to kind of develop a strategy? Because I know it's a good practice, but I don't naturally want to do it. So I'd love to hear that selfishly. I have you here, right? Like, tell me. Oh, we have someone right here.
So for years, I thought meal prep meant a whole Saturday and Sunday. Saturday you shop, Sunday you put it all out there together.
Can't
You
do
get
it.
small, yeah, can't. And I pinned all the things on Pinterest on how to do that. I read all the things. I spent hours and hours, but I'm more like you.
Yeah.
So what I figured out was if we make a meal at home that we really like, double it or triple it. Bought a whole bunch of little containers, put it in there, make a big thing of salad, scoop it out in the morning, put it in a container and go. So for me, it ended up being just double whatever I'm making that we really like. And it wasn't a Saturday or Sunday. Then you start to get into your own cadence around that. That worked for me better.
I promise I'm not texting. I'm literally writing down everything you said. Thank you.
No, that's really, really helpful because something as simple as meal prepping is something that can save you time throughout the week. Time is a gift. And we were talking about that as panelists. Time is a gift. And it's something that we feel like, I don't know, the busier we become, we feel like we don't have enough of it. So being able to be intentional about how you spend your time, with whom you spend your time, like all of that really, really matters. And so something as simple as planning your meals for the week is not only just an efficient and effective use of time and a great strategy, but it could save you money because now you're not having to eat out all the time. So it could be a financial benefit. It could also be a health benefit if you're someone who's on a health journey, because you can really control your portions and your calories and all of that way. So I don't know anybody here who doesn't want to be healthier or maybe drop a few pounds. So that's a strategy that can be implemented in a number of different ways. So is there anybody else who has a really helpful strategy that you'd like to share? All right, we have a few hands, so wherever you decide to go, feel free.
While we're passing the mic over, one thing it does for me is it's one less decision I have to make during the day.
Yes.
Because that is decision fatigue is real. President Obama talked about it. That's why he had gray and blue suits. I mean, there's two outfits that he would pick from.
Right.
So I already know when I go to lunch on Tuesday morning what I'm eating because I've packed it up the night before.
So smart.
I like to add on to the Walmart delivery. because we're all busy and it's about time. And so adding on is that we have so many choices, right? And so it may be that you choose that consistently Monday is meatless Monday. Tuesday is consistently that it's going to be a crock pot meal. So that means on your meatless Monday, you've defrosted your meat. And then when you get up and you go to work in the morning, you do that. On Wednesday, you might just have, depending on your schedule, you might just choose to have soup and a salad. So if you, every day of the week, if you dedicate, and then by Friday, it might be use up whatever's in the refrigerator. And Saturday and Sunday, those may be your days to go out. Those may be your days to go out, because if you do all this meal prep, what I found for myself is that I was exhausted by the time I finished looking at Pinterest. And I was exhausted. And it was like one day, and this is when I realized that I was truly a leader, because it was like, you mean I go to work and then I have to drive to Walmart and I have to find a cart with a good wheel. And then I have to push it around in the store, right? And then I have to put the items in the cart. And then I have to stand in line to give them my money. And then I have to put it on a conveyor belt for her to ring it up to put it in a bag to put back in my cart. And then I have to take the cart to my car and take the bags out and put it in the car.
Yeah.
And then by the time I get home, what? No. So Walmart delivery, and I plan it, and it's there when I go out to the door. And I don't mind paying to tip the driver, because they've given me back my time. And when I made my shopping list online, I know that I can allocate Monday for meatless Monday. Tuesday.
Perfect.
That's good. That's
Got
one
it
of the
figured
things
out.
I have not gone back to since before COVID,
Okay.
which is going to the grocery store. Like, I am straight into the cart. And so, yes, 100% of what you
Yeah,
said.
it's a
Thank you.
huge time saver. Huge time saver. All right, one more. Yeah, we'll probably have time for one more and then we'll have to move on. Yeah.
I'm from New York, so I'm loud.
She's like, I don't need a mic.
Sleep.
What was it?
Talk to us about sleep.
Sleep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sleep.
Yep.
Sleep.
Period.
Very overrated, and I used to always say,
It's overrated?
No.
It's underrated.
Underrated.
Okay, okay.
People I used to say, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Right.
Yeah. Or sleep.
Well,
is
if
the
we
cousin
don't
of
get
death.
enough sleep, we will be dead because it's imperative to our health.
And that's when
Yeah.
planning all the time,
Yeah.
and you don't sleep. Probably since July, I started making a commitment to sleep. I feel better.
Yeah.
My mind's not racing, and I've lost weight.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I get that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Chris, do you have anything you want to add about strategy before we move on?
Well, actually, I'm going to talk about people. And I think having the right kind of relationships in your life is strategic, right?
Yes.
And I have to say, Blair, whenever you initially threw out that question, I was like, well, this is a cool question. Watching and listening to people's minds kind of open up and really thinking about something as simple as meal preparation. How many layers actually go into it and how much time we actually think about it. And actually food should be fun, right? Food is delicious. Food is something that we share with our people, right?
Yeah.
So whenever you first threw that out, like I said, we could talk about that all day.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do want to talk about teams, right? And we have our, some of us are boss ladies at work and we have our teams to help us do the things. And all of us have our friends and family, all the ups and the downs a minute ago with standing up. We got a good picture of kind of, what our kind of full life with our people can look like, right? But the thing is, our people can make or break our strategies and our time, right? And I'm gonna be really honest. Whenever I first got here today, I thought I knew what I was gonna say, and then I heard the first panel. I'm like, oh, I gotta change everything I'm saying, right? And so, not about our people and our authentic relationships, being authentic when we show up for other people. But we need to be authentic about showing up for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's the same thing with our people. How many of you guys can think of at least one person or a handful that we need to cut loose right now?
right?
That was my last season. Done.
No, think about it. So we talked about time. We talked about strategy. There's been all kinds of leadership talk all throughout the day too, right? The people that we surround ourselves with is important. And I'm also going to be really honest about the time thing. I turned 50 this year.
Wow.
Right? Thank you.
Yes, welcome to the club.
I don't know about you guys, but there was a shift in here. There was a shift in here too, right? It's like Mother Nature kind of took me by the shoulders and said, you got to quit bleeping around now, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have that much time left. I don't be all gloom and doom, but that's not the point. The point is we need to be strategic about who we surround ourselves with, right? And again, how we show up for them. Now, this is my question for you. How do you choose who you surround yourself with? I'm going to throw another layer on it. I think you should surround yourself with people who love you. How hard or how easy is that?
Perfect. I'm sure I'm going to see a lot of hands, but yeah, let's hear from you. We definitely want to hear how you deal with that.
I think choosing your team involves knowing who your team is supporting. The team that allows you to take that mask off. A lot of times we wake up and we're chasing everybody else's dream for us.
Right.
We're chasing competition. We're chasing who we should be. But your team has to know who the person is behind that mask before you're bold and courageous enough to take it off and live that.
That's right. And you need to know who you are.
Exactly.
Yes. In order for them, right? You need to know who you are. We need to have some honest conversations about ourselves. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a mess.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if we're being honest, right?
If we're being honest, most
We're
of us,
being
yeah, it
honest.
depends on the day.
That's right.
Yeah.
And some days today I'm awesome.
Thank you.
Right? No, but showing up as your authentic self, because the other people around you are going to do the same thing, but you got to give them the chance to do it.
No, I love that. And when we were preparing for this, one of the things that you said then was, you know what? I'm showing up with a sleeveless shirt. I'm showing my tattoos. I'm showing who I am because this is who I am at my core. I'm not covering myself up anymore. I'm going to be bold and I'm going to be exactly who I am. And I thought, yes, girl, do it. We can't wait to see it. And oftentimes we feel like we have to conform. We can't be our most authentic selves, which is saying you don't really love yourself, to be honest with you, or that we're embarrassed of something about ourselves. But I submit to you, just be true to yourself. Be true to yourself, because the more authentic we are to ourselves, the more authentic we can be to others, and the more we will show up for others. Okay, so I love that, and I'm so glad you're doing it here now. And I'm sorry, did you have something you want to add to that, Leah?
Well, yeah, I was gonna, so your comment about Chris wearing sleeveless shirts,
Yeah.
just kind of my experience with
Yeah.
imposter syndrome.
Uh-huh.
And now I've turned 45 this year, actually in 2 weeks. So, but I can't say that, I have muscular arms, and this is something I've worked at for over decades now. It doesn't just happen, right? It's something I'm proud of. I put time in. But why it's related to this is because when I got appointed to the Go Virginia State Board, with the CEO of Dominion Energy and all these business leaders, these men, these, even the women in there have a lot of status and power in Virginia. And I'm like, why am I in this room? And this is just an example of where, like, I would over prepare. I didn't think I deserved to be there. And that's what I needed to do to feel confident in those seats. But I also was really intentional about covering my arms. Because as a woman, I didn't want to be perceived as kind of beefy or like less feminine, because there's some power in perceived femininity that, gets you into the room, or like, all of that was kind of layered in. And, as I've grown into myself and kind of own who I am, thanks to some of these assessments and things like Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
We said this earlier, like I try to keep the mantra, if I'm too much, go find less.
Yes.
Yeah, I want
But
to get
earlier in my career, those assessments said extrovert, high energy, and all of those things are very useful, but they also can be an Achilles heel, right? Our best traits can also be our worst traits. So through my career, I was being coached by managers and well-intended people to do less, say less, be quieter. And there's truth to that, right? Timing and audience and all of that.
Sure.
But now it's like, I am an energetic, high-paced person that is intense. And sometimes it aligns and I find my people like these women here, or I don't work for you. And that's okay.
That's right.
And we can work together and respect each other. We don't have to be friends. You know, like even in our personal space, we can love our family members. We don't have to necessarily spend or give too much of our time to them if it's draining, you know, or it's putting
I
you in a
chime in
box.
here?
Yeah.
Really quick, just to say, as we're uncovering who we are and we're leaning into those strengths, those gifts, there are so many other women that are attached to our doing and being who we are. We have to do that. Can't tell you the number of times people come up and say, you don't understand how this was an answered prayer that you arranged, that you produced. But if I hadn't had the boldness, if I hadn't let go of the imposter syndrome to actually live in the authenticity of who I am,
Yes.
I don't get to do that thing, okay? But
Yeah.
then the
Right.
people that are attached don't get to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
We are
And
creating
it's a thing.
tables and chairs for others, you
We
know, whether you
are.
know it or not, you're visible in these roles and
So
know that
important.
people are watching you for good or for bad. I mean, you can't control if they're judging or admiring. That's not that's not your responsibility.
Right.
But to Blair's point, you're visible, you're
Yeah.
doing, and people are going to see that as a way that they can also be like you.
And
Yeah.
feel like this platform's not even here. We are all people of influence.
Absolutely.
To the degree that we know who we are and we're doing that thing.
Well, who in here, by show of hands, wants to be around a perfect Patty? None of us, because
They're
it's
kind of
not
annoying, right?
It's just not even. It's not
Real.
even real. It's really
Right.
not even real. People want to be around people who are relatable, people who can talk about. Some people call them failures, some might call them missteps, but whatever that case may be, because I don't know about you all, but I've learned my most valuable lessons from my missteps. I mean, they help you grow. It helps you show your resilience because you have to pick yourself by your up by your bootstraps, and you have to keep moving. So, I mean, being authentic, being true to ourselves first and foremost, and then, like I said, being able to show that to others makes us relatable. It really does. And that's what helps us to start to break down those walls of imposter syndrome. And I have to be perfect and I have to do all the things and say all the things. No, we don't. No, we don't. We just have to be ourselves and allow people to see us in those vulnerable moments.
Yeah.
But also let them see us shine too, because we are winning. We're all in here winning at some point in time too. So, there's a delicate balance, but.
Well,
Yeah.
and I just want to add that one thing that I've done intentionally is when I introduce myself, I use my last name. Women don't tend to use their last names when they introduce themselves, especially in professional settings. And I used to feel awkward about my title. So I was a senior vice president in my last job. Now I'm president and CEO. And sometimes I'd be like, oh, I'm just Leah. No, I am president and CEO. Okay, I have one employee. I mean, they don't know that. You are president and CEO. I mean, shit, right? So I earned
No,
these
most
credentials.
businesses don't have 2 employees.
That's right.
So that's huge.
Well, I'm just really like, it doesn't mean that I have to be CEO of Dominion to have power in that.
Yes.
And those of you that have doctorates and masters, and use those credentials. You earned that.
Make it
shit,
big.
You know, like put that on your business cards, put that in your email signature. That was hard work.
Yes,
And
it was.
that's the work that you put in. And I think we dilute those a little bit.
We dilute them and we talk ourselves out of the things that we want or we deserve. So that little voice, we have a lot going on, right? A lot of people are tell us that we can't or we shouldn't or whatever. But the person who says that to us the most is ourselves, right? And I'll say one other thing, and Leah knows exactly what I'm going to say. When it comes to knowing what you want and bringing your own power and your own value into everything that you do, that is part of your authenticity. And one day, Leah and I, we're both on the board of directors of a statewide organization, and she and I are walking outside, and she's like, "Hey, did you see that chief lending officer position at this credit union?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, actually, I just talked to the CEO last week. I gave her some feedback on the job description, and I told her, you know, these are the types of people you need to be looking for. And Leah turns around, she puts her hand, a lot of people are putting their hands on my shoulder lately, telling me good things. Leah looked right at me and she's like, sweetie, she
That's your
wants
job.
you.
Wow.
And that whole, like, the job description went through my head. And the thing is, I couldn't check off every box. So I didn't think I was good enough or fast enough or smart enough. Men don't think that way for the most part.
Never.
So, Leah, I want to say thank you because I am a chief lending officer.
Yes. All right.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Um,
All right. So the next letter in STEPS is E for education. And you can also, you know, education and training, I think they kind of go hand in hand. And so I think education is the one thing that no one can ever take from you. They can never take it away from you. I'm a firm believer that you should, you know, educate yourself on as much as you possibly can and just, you know, really soak it all in. So that's going to make you that much more of an asset and a resource. And I remember there was a time where I was working in one of my first corporate jobs. I was working as a medical transcriptionist and I had a vocational education. And I thought that was fine. It obviously was. It got me the job as a transcriptionist. But I continued to work my way up in corporate America through the healthcare system. But I was continuously meeting doctors and nurses and people who had like really high degrees. And I realized the more I was exposed to those people, the lesser I felt. Like it was really working on my confidence and the fact that I didn't have a 4-year college degree. And it really took a toll on my self-esteem. And so for 10 years, I continued to subject myself to that. And I remember whenever people would ask me about my college education, where'd you go to college? Where'd you go to school? I would just deflect and I would put it back on them. Where'd you go to school? I've heard great things. I heard you're really academically accomplished and all the things. I would deflect, right? And again, it was just wearing at my self-esteem. And so it wasn't until I met my husband who was like, babe, I see that this is a concern for you. Why don't you just go back to school? It's really not that hard. Take a few classes at night while you work full time, whatever it is, but you have to do the work in order to overcome this insecurity. And I'm so glad he had that talk with me because I actually did that. And I later went back and got my degree. And I was the happiest student walking across that platform. And I was the oldest student that graduated because at this point I was 33 years old. And I was like, but it was a big accomplishment. And I realized that I had to go through those insecurities. I had to feel that pain in order for me to get to the other side of it and deal with that insecurity head on and start to really work on that confidence. And so I can't say enough great things about educating yourself, being, you know, whatever your areas of interest are, just really immersing yourself in the education, in the training, whatever the training is that you want to receive, because those are the things that are going to help you reach your highest level of success. Not anybody else's, but your highest level of success. And so I'd like to ask anybody on the panel, like, at what point did you find yourself in need of like educating yourself more on, you know, a topic or maybe getting additional training? And like, how did that help you throughout your journey? Anyone who would like to answer?
So Holly, I didn't know that about your story. I have a similar one. I almost, so I was a runaway, almost didn't graduate high school, failed out of college twice. And then finally kind of ended up working at a youth service center back in my hometown in West Virginia. Some life things, you know, where you start to focus as a 20-something and you're like, okay, I can't bartend forever. Yeah. Then I met the boy moved to Virginia. I followed the boy, you know, it worked out. We got married, but with that, he was college educated. I wasn't at the time. Transferred to VCU from, with a 0.6 GPA. I was crushing it. So, and VCU said, we'll take your money and you can take classes, but we're not going to call you a student until you actually get grades. Wow. And similar in that I was 29 when I got my undergrad, but it was one class at a time,
Yeah.
one paper at a time. And the as I like to say, I got my legs under me. You know, I kind of found out that I could do it.
Right.
And again, it was that first day, and this was like intro level English, which is hard. Tears. Yeah, I don't know how to write. Like, I mean, I barely had a high school good experience there,
Yeah.
and so that education. Yes, the degree has been very, very helpful, but I think it was the self-confidence and the empowerment through that process.
Absolutely.
That's part of my path. So.
Yeah.
I love that.
Can I react?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had a thought?
Oh, no, just thank you. Holy smokes.
It just shows you can never judge a book by their cover, and you never really know someone's story.
Right.
I never knew that about you. It just makes me appreciate you that much more. But yeah, I love that story. Thanks for sharing. Does anybody else have anything? I know we have to
Yeah.
kind of move.
How are we
a
doing?
little-
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll just say quickly, I do feel like there's a lot of pressure, particularly for women, around the advanced degree space. I feel like more and more we feel like, oh my God, if I don't get a PhD, I'm going to be useless. I just want to submit that not all of us need it. Right. I am one who dropped out of a master's program, really upon realizing, wait a minute, I already have exactly what I need to do the thing that I want to do. I actually am that person. I can bring it about. So just thinking about where that pressure is coming from.
Yeah.
Some of us, if we're going to be a college professor, okay. You know what I mean? Or if we're going to do a particular thing, maybe absolutely we need that additional degree.
Yeah.
But if not, consider that you might be okay without it.
I think, Blair, that goes back to what you said earlier about the strategy. So your strategy for you personally, your strategy for a career. If you like academic life and want to be a professor, then yes, you need a PhD. If you just are really interested in a certain skill set, and I mean, there's other ways.
There's so
That's
many
where
other
training
ways.
comes in too.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
not always a college degree. Sometimes it's just a training. Maybe
Yep.
it's a certification. Maybe it's a weekend course or something like that, for sure. But not everybody has to have that aspiration to go on to get a college degree. It just kind of depends. And then also, if you're an entrepreneur, maybe you decide, you know what, forget all that. I'm going to create my own rules. I'm going to make my own way. I'm going to become an entrepreneur. And that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing, Blair, as I was listening to you, it's funny because it's the credential or the letters after your name that seems to be important, right? Not necessarily what you learned along the way. Is that why you want to go back to school?
Yeah.
Is because you want you want to be able to learn things and then be able to apply them to the world, right?
Yeah.
Well, you think getting that degree, that's indicative of getting your PhD or whatnot. But for a lot of people, it's not like that. They just, they want to get those credentials because they have something to prove.
And both can be true.
That's right.
I mean, I like my credentials. I earned them.
Great.
Paid money for them.
That's right.
I'm going to put them on my business card. But I also like the learning piece and stuff. So they can both be true for you. There's not a wrong way. There's not a wrong way to do you.
That was really
Yeah,
the point.
absolutely.
Don't feel so boxed in that, okay, if I don't, you know what I mean?
No, I love that.
The strategy. Yeah.
No, I love it.
I think strategies in all the steps.
It is.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
No, I always say that know what you want the end result to be and reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
Right. If you ultimately know where you want to go, then you can put the steps in place to help you get there. Okay. So that's always important. Know the vision. Make it plain. All right. So the next is perseverance. And perseverance, I would love for Leah, I would love for you to take this one on because you've overcome some things. I've learned some things about you today that I didn't know. But please talk to us about perseverance, how important that has been in your journey.
Yeah. So when I hear the word, well, let me ask someone in the audience, when you hear the word perseverance, what is that? Describe that to us. What kind of adjectives and things would you use? Optimistic, she said. What else?
Yeah.
Grit. Resilience.
Yes.
Fearless.
Overcomer.
Overcomer.
Pushing past.
Yep. Yep. What else? We got way back there. Determination.
In spite of.
Exactly. Exactly.
Patience.
She said in spite of, if you didn't hear. And all of those adjectives absolutely go into perseverance. The other thing is consistency. Consistency over time, right? So we can think about communities and transforming communities. That's the work that all of us actually are at this stage are in, where you don't go from losing an industry like coal in a community to a vibrant town in 10 years, right? It's a consistent effort over time. Think about losing weight. I mean, I actually was close to 200 pounds at one point in my life, you know, and that didn't happen in a weekend. That was consistent choices that I made about what I was eating and how I was behaving. So perseverance doesn't have to be these big, bold, kind of visible moves. It's those intentional choices when you're meal prepping at night, when you are doing those grant programs or that business plan that, man, oh God, like for me, I hate spreadsheets and budgets and details. Ugh. But
Who needs details, right?
What do they say? I'm a big picture person, which is true. But I have to do the stuff that I don't like to do consistently. I don't have to do it all the time, but consistently over time. A lot of what we're talking about, a college degree, building a business, our own personal growth and self-esteem, that's a marathon. None of this is a sprint, you know, and marathons, to run that type of event, that takes training and intention on what you're doing and what you're focusing on. And if you're focusing on all the things that you're not doing, then that's where your energy is going to go. If you're focusing on the small things that you can control, then you'll look back and you'll be like, how did oh my gosh, like for me, I mean, high school dropout, right? Now I'm in charge of a financial institution. Who let that happen?
Smart people. Yes.
I let that happen. But I mean, anecdotally, like, wow, I would have never, if you would have told Leah, even when I moved to Virginia in 2004, that I would be sitting on this stage with you today, like, I'd be like, you're crazy. I'm just lucky to bartend at Ruby Tuesdays. You know, like, I mean, that was my perception of what I could be. But it was these small wins. And I would say the other pieces that I do, that I offer as a tactic that's been very impactful for me, was that I'm not necessarily a journaler, and this was a TikTok. I can't take credit for this. But at night, I try to write down one or two things that I did where I contributed to something. And whether it was helping Chris in a parking lot, you know, make a career decision, or I was up here, like this is a thing where I brought value to something. And then you start to see those over time. And in my last job, I was like, I didn't feel valued at my last job. And so I was like, in hindsight, I realized this as I look back, and I was like, oh yeah, as I started to recognize my value each night before I went to bed, again, one or two things. At some point, I just wasn't putting up with that anymore, like where I wasn't being valued. And so, yes, in a career setting, I made a move. That also has happened in my personal life, where time is something that you don't get back. So it's not that I'm not around people that don't vibe with me very well, but I try to prioritize the people that do. And again, because I know my value, and if I feel like you're judging me or like whatever, like again, knowing, but that was an intentional habit that I've built up, and it's been, I mean, I guess TikTok became a habit in 2020. So since then, but that practice has been very, very helpful. And it's easy. And then on the other side with the team, I make my team do that. So when we have our team check-ins, we start the meeting with an impact moment. And so it can be a really cool thing that we did in the community or a win for the company. But I also make them say, what did you do? And it's so uncomfortable when you first do it. But I think there towards as we got used to the habit, people look forward to that, because then we're going, like I worked with a woman named Melody and another one, Sharon. And Melody and Sharon and I were all like, that's awesome, Sharon. I mean, yes, I was in the room. That was great. Like, we're celebrating each other. But it first starts with you celebrating who you are, back to the authentic self.
No, I love that. Persistence, commitment. I mean, those are necessary things in order to help you with your goals. But sometimes they're big goals that we try to achieve and they don't happen overnight. Like you said, we have to take like bite-sized like pieces out of it and set like little milestones and then celebrate those milestones. And I don't think as women, we celebrate our successes enough. We're always looking for the big wins. And there's beauty in those smaller moments, those small wins. Sometimes it may be like, you know what? I got through my to-do list today. That's a win for me.
Yeah.
Like celebrate the small things, give yourself grace, pat yourself on the back as often as possible because you're super women. You really are.
And if you do fall and not follow through with the meal prep or whatever, I mean, because
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Next.
Okay. Yeah.
Update the goal.
Start again, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't undo
Right.
all the work that you just did. I mean, if
Yeah.
you had weeks and years of doing it this way and you didn't do it for a weekend or for a month, you know, at work, I mean, whatever. Next,
We
like
literally
Monday,
have
next
1
day.
minute. We have 1 minute, literally. The very last letter is S. So the last S is systems. All right. And so I would just like to offer to you, like, how many of you have your cell phones with you? Right? Most of us do. We don't leave home without it. If we leave home and forgot it, we're going back home to get it. So I would like to say that this is one of my top systems to keep me organized, to help me meet deadlines, to help me remember to not only like deliver for my clients, but also deliver for myself. So I'm like scheduling things like, I call them holidays. Because I need to check in with myself. I need to have a self-care day. Self-care may not wait until Saturday or Sunday. It might be self-care Monday. And if that's what I need, that's what I'm going to take. So one of my most effective systems is my phone. My calendar is here. It's linked to my iPad. That's linked to the cloud, wherever that lives, whatever. Like it's all linked. It all helps me stay organized and to meet deadlines and to also prioritize myself, which is a very important system. So I don't know, does anybody else have other system that works for them that helps you kind of get it all done, stay on track? Anything that you'd like to share with the audience in 1 minute?
So I'm gonna share even faster than that. So I think the calendar is an incredible system that we could all better leverage. There are things that we could be doing weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually, that if we just made the commitment to do those in that fashion, we would make monumental improvement in our life. One thought I had is that success is an iterative process.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's made of failing forward. So if you're in that mix, you're on.
Yeah.
We're going
Yeah,
somewhere,
absolutely.
At least you're trying.
Yeah.
We're going together.
For systems, I don't know about you guys, but the first hour that I'm awake, I'm a terrible waker upper, so I get up really early in the morning so I can wake up appropriately. Having morning rituals, that's just true. I don't want to talk to or smell another human for at least an hour. But have those morning rituals that are mine, and they don't belong to anybody else, and it helps my day start better.
Yeah. I send the first 10 emails before 6 a.m. That's one of my systems.
I can't do an email of any sort until I have coffee. Nothing before coffee.
I'm a morning person.
All right, ladies. So we hope that this framework helps you in some way. Remember your strategy, your team's education, perseverance systems. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for showing up for yourselves. Thank you.
Kathy,
Go over.
back up.
We did good.
Oh, I think it's Kathy coming.
Great.
Thank you so much.